Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this tutorial I want to show you guys how to make a pendant that I call a whirly bird. I don't know if that's what other people call it, that's just the name that I learned it by. And I'm using 3 different ring sizes here. This is 16 gauge standard wire gauge wire. This is German silver, but you could use whatever metal you like, with an inner diameter of 7/16. And then here we have some anodized aluminum, and again 16 gauge with a 5/16 inner diameter. And then the last ring size I'm using is 18 gauge with a 3/16 inner diameter. And this could be tweaked, these different sizes could be tweaked whichever way you like to get it to fit whatever it is that you're going to be encasing, which in today's tutorial is this really pretty fried marble. So we're going to want 2 of our large, medium, and small. So, well, 2 of the large, and then on each of the large rings, I have hung 15 of our small, closed just like that. And whenever you're closing a ring, you'll see it starts off looking very much like this, kind of offset at the cut. And so you'll take your pliers and try your best to close that gap. And so it takes some wiggling forward and back while adding sideways pressure, because you can see there's still a little bit of light coming through there. And that can be really difficult sometimes to avoid, especially if you're new at it, but just be patient with yourself, you'll get it. There you go, that's a pretty good closure. And you can kind of pet it with your finger to make sure that there's no pokey outy bits. But so that's how we're going to be closing our rings. And then whenever you open a ring, just take it like so. I prefer to hold my pliers so that they're gripping multiple points on the ring as opposed to holding single points on the ring like that. I feel like it just gives me a little bit more control, but we'll just take the rings and open them around a 45-degree angle, 30 to 45 degrees. Okay, so 15 of the small strung onto our large, and we've done that off camera twice, which even just this by itself just strung up as earrings would look super cute. And then we're going to be going through, let me sweep some stuff out of the way. Also, for size reference, this is a 14 to 15 millimeter marble. And I have 15 of our medium, our 16 gauge 5/16 rings opened. But I've just pushed them off to the side. I'm going to zoom in a bit for you guys. So hopefully I'll be able to stay in frame. But we're going to take one of our medium rings and hook 2 of the small from one side, and then 2 of the small on the other. And then we're going to close it. And so laying flat, you can see it looks like that. So we're going to take another medium ring, and I'm going to hook through 1. You don't want to hook through like just randomly down here. We want to find the next one in line and hook through it, and then hook through 1 that had already been strung through. And now following around, I'm going to hook through 1 that had been strung through, and then add 1 more. Now the nice thing about chainmail is it is very repetitive in nature. So we're going to be doing that same step about 13 more times. So you'll get the hang of it. So picking up another ring, so you pull it tight and it looks like this. And so now we're going to pick up another ring, hook through right there. I prefer to work kind of from, if this is inside my hands to outside my hands, I like to work from the inside out. So hooking away from me, if that makes sense. And then hook through there, pop another ring on, and then close it. This is another design out of Chainmail that works really well incorporating stretchy rubber rings. All of these small that get originally hooked onto the large, you could do out of EPDM rubber. It's a very durable rubber ring. You can get them from the Ring Lord. There will be links to all the different tools and materials that I'm using down in the video description below, and those are Amazon affiliate links. So anything that you purchase through there, whether it's the linked to product or, you know, something else that you might decide to have shopped for, really helps grow our company. We get some of the proceeds from that, so that's really nice. And so you can see it's starting to, if you pull tight, it's starting to kind of bunch up, but if you push your finger up from underneath, you can see it's starting to make a little bit of a frame. So again, we're going to hook on one, fresh one, and then one that's been woven, and then go through the one that's been woven, and a fresh one, and then close. So you can kind of see how that's happening, and then we can actually test by taking our marble and setting it in there and bringing the sides up and around each other. Now this looks like it's gonna get pretty tight there at the end, but we're gonna work through it together and we'll get there. You can see it makes just a cool little pattern on the front. And so whenever you pick it up, hook through a fresh one. Oh, and it looks like I turned it inside out. So I want to continue off in the same direction that I was working in. And so for some troubleshooting, if you get to where you got sidetracked and you're coming back to your project and you're like, man, what am I doing? You might have turned it inside out. You can see at this point I can still kind of flip it, which can make things a little confusing. But here on the end, the first ring that we started with, I actually need to put, do I? No, we're good. Okay. Sorry, I brain farted. Which is okay, that happens. If chainmail doesn't make you brain fart, then you must be like part robot, because this stuff can be pretty challenging. So I just make sure I have it flipped around whichever way that I need it. Which I don't even know which way that is. Okay. So I'm going to hook through a fresh one. And through one that had been woven. And through a woven one. And then hook through a fresh one. And close. And sometimes with chainmail especially, it's like if you say or read the same word over and over, it starts to like be super weird. With chainmail, if you read the same pattern over and over, like I don't know, you start like tripping. It's crazy. So if you're having problems, don't feel free to, you know, set it down, walk away for a bit, and then come back to it. So I like to keep spot checking just to make sure that things aren't too tight. There we go. Things are looking pretty good. And I may have added too many rings for this pattern. So we may end up taking some off from around on the edges. Yeah, it looks like I definitely added too many rings. Oops. And the way that I fry my marbles sounds like, I don't know, it's like I fried my marbles. I've gone bonkers. Is I heat them up in the oven to about 500 degrees. And then I just dump them into a bowl of ice water. And you want to do that really carefully if you're going to be frying your own. I may actually do a video if you guys are interested in that. So I'm just going to remove like maybe 2 or 3 off of each side. Yeah, we'll remove 3 off of each side. And you want to make sure if you're whittling down or adding to only be using rings or hooking around this one main ring. You don't want to remove any that have already been woven through. It's going to make things kind of complicated for you. Okay. So it is going to get to a point though where we're going to have to weave around having the marble on the inside. So let's get that nice and open. There we go, and it nestles in real nice. And it actually looks like I may need to take 2 more off. Or, yeah, to where it's only 2 loose ones on each side. And I'm leaving these parts in because I want you guys to see the thought process behind it. Nothing ever comes out perfect the first or second or sometimes even third time. Or for in this case, like 10 years in, and it's still like, what am I doing? So, but I feel like the problem solving of working through these little crafty obstacles is part of what makes crafting so fun. Okay, so before removing another one, I'm going to hook through, because they aren't quite close enough together, I don't think. You know, actually they might be. Never mind. Okay, so I'm going to remove these last 2. Again, it really snuggled down in there way deeper than what I anticipated. So if you ever find yourself being like, man, I'm gonna have to pull out some stitches or undo some rings or add in more, please don't be hard on yourself. That's a natural part of it. And I feel like experimenting and working through different difficulties can really help you grow as an artist, because it forces you to think in different ways and figure out, okay, what can we do differently here to make this work? So you're going to want to come through and make sure that none of your rings are sitting kind of wonky. Get them all lined up with each other. Then I'm going to grab my medium ring and hook through one from this ring right there and one from the next ring right there. And you'll notice I'm trying to hook it in a way where it's not threading through itself. You don't want that to happen. You want to hook through right there, and then let this ring fall over it, and then push it on up and through, just like that. And it can be kind of tight to get your pliers in, and that's why I really like bent nose pliers, because you can just get it right in there and close it. And now you have a very cool whirlybird. And if you're familiar with chainmail, this pattern here, European 4-in-1, is just a different way, a different route of getting there. So if you prefer, you can actually weave a bit of 4-in-1 first and then join in the large rings, but I have a much harder time getting the large ring to close than what I do getting one of the medium rings on the side to close. And so now that we've made it, what do we do with this? Well, we could play with it. We could stick it in a box. You could use it in like a fairy house or a sculpture. They're beautiful in sun catchers, especially whenever you're using something translucent for the light to shine through. But something that I like to do is to just hook a ring. And you could hook like 1 or 2 rings and attach it to a key ring, or let me grab from this box up here. I thought I had all my materials already, but there's always something. So here you can see I have a different selection of bails that we could choose from. And I'm going to want a bail where the loop is facing forward. So let's see. Here I have a nice leaf bail, and you can see I want it to where it threads through the ring and hangs forward, as opposed to something like this one where I would have to attach an additional ring to get it to lay forward, if that makes sense. So that alignment to me is important. And I don't have any silver bails on hand, but I think this will look pretty nice. And so the way that I'm going to attach that is I'm going to get in there and I'm going to open up the medium ring that we just did. Where's your closure? There it is. Opening it up just a bit. And then I'm going to thread on this bail and kind of get it out of the way of where my pliers are going to be sitting. And then go ahead and close that ring back up. Just as best as we can. So now we'll be able to thread this onto, well, now that I got it tucked out, there it goes. We could thread this onto a cord or chain for a necklace. And I think those are just good fun. So if you guys have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. I do love hearing from y'all. If you have any requests for future tutorials, I'd like to hear that as well. There'll be links to all of my different social media, Facebook and Instagram, down in the video description also, where you can tag me or you can post things to my wall, because I would love to be able to feature your work. So if you tag me, be sure to link your Facebook page or your website or whatever. That way, I can send people in the right direction when I'm like, hey, y'all, check out this person's work, because y'all inspire me so much with just all the good work that you do. And if you enjoy my free tutorials and would like to support the creation of more of them, please consider joining me over on Patreon. There's links for that down below as well. But pledges start at just $1 a month, and they give you all sorts of access to behind-the-scenes pictures, exclusive polls, digital download content. Just the more you pledge, the more you get. And at $20 and up, I send out monthly craft crates, where you can get the rings and materials and things to follow along with these tutorials with me, and those get sent out internationally, so that's pretty fun. But thank you guys again so much for hanging out, and until next time, happy crafting. Bye.